I'm excited to share with you stories expressing times when members of St. John's had more than enough. Today, you'll hear from a member of St. John's who lived in Africa for a time and how he was able to feed those around him with more than enough.
My name's Robin Wenger. I am from Napanee, Indiana, and grew up in this area. However, I've lived apart from here for a little over half of my life. I lived apart from this area, and part of that was my time with Wycliffe Bible Translators. I was a member of that mission organization from 1988 until 2000. Anyway, I really felt the call to some type of foreign mission. I started looking for a mission organization that I could be a part of. And at that time, I was a very much staunch Presbyterian. And at my church, we had what they called it, a teaching on a Saturday night. And they had all sorts of workshops and that type of thing, breakout sessions that you go to and learn more about specific things. So I went to like a workshop conducted by this Wycliffe associates couple. We'd gone to different countries on these 1 to 3 month short-term worker type things. And I walked by their table, and afterwards they said, Wycliffe Bible Translators, SIL, we accept everybody, or something like that. So I must have talked to them. I don't know what time in the morning it was. We finally finished talking, and I said, well, I think I finally found what I'm looking for. Got through all the preliminary stuff. All the application was almost 50 pages by the time it was done. Did some other testing, and they said, well, we would like to have you try to study linguistics. I said, okay. So how do I do that? I said, well, we've got an introductory program at Dallas, Texas that you can do. And in that time, I went to Dallas, Texas to study linguistics and to discover what aspect I might do in terms of my mission work with Wycliffe. And that identifies your field assignment, what your job is once you get there. Otherwise, the Wycliffe thing is usually a contract thing that is signed either between the local church asking for you to come and do Bible translation and other good books, or and then what other stuff you might provide, other sort of assistance in terms of medical, educational, that type of thing. And what it does, it allows you to come into the country with the intent of doing religious work, but you're not identified on your passport or your work visas or anything as being a Christian worker. So, but yeah, even though I knew I should be there, I was still trying to find my niche, so to speak. And I remember I was in one interview, and they said, well, what's motivated you to want to join Wycliffe? Is that I understand you have a very active and important literacy program. That you just don't dump the stuff, you teach them how to read it, in addition to everything. And they said, yeah. And I said, that just really it bugs me to know that people in our country are functional illiterates. So I said, that's the main reason I want to go and be able to produce works that people can read and use, and however they choose to use it is there. If they use it for evangelism, fine. If they use it for Christian education, fine, whatever. And they said, good, well, where would you like to work? And I said, well, I never thought about it too much, but Africa sounds exciting. Then I went to French school, went to Swahili school, then finally got to Eastern Zaire, which, by the way, has been renamed Eastern Congo. The whole country has been renamed Congo. And even through my first 2 years there, I didn't really see what I was supposed to be doing just yet. I think it became evident. Well, I got back on my second term. This would be sometime in the spring of '94. I went through kind of a series of house sitting, living arrangements, and I was living on this former it was a plantation house. It was really quite something. The Belgians who had last lived there had discovered they could grow mulberries there and then turn them for growing silk or making silk out of them. Because it was such a big house, and I was the only one really living there, I really couldn't turn people down who were traveling through who needed a place to stay. And the nice thing was that the house help did everything for me. They got their beds ready, did their laundry, told the cook how they prepare for breakfast, and blah, blah, blah. Well, one day we're sitting, and I never knew who was going to show up for lunch either. So we're sitting there, and I said, well, let's just wait a few minutes. And oh, by golly, here comes the director with a couple who just got off the airplane, and they needed a place to have lunch and then maybe a place to stay. I said, sure, come on in. Well, I forget what we were having that day. Well, anyway, we're sitting there eating, and all of a sudden there's this uproar in the kitchen. And I just kept more and more involved, and I said, "Excuse me," and walked out there. And I said, "So, qu'est-ce que c'est? What's going on?" They're explaining to me that the cook should have the first right to any garbage, and then it can be doled out to other workers. And the head of the household crew said, "No, it belongs to me." And what they were fighting over were fish tails and fish heads. And I said, "Really?" And then I said, "Okay, wait until we finish, then we'll come and talk about it later." So we did, and it turned out. One thing I learned, even though there was reports of famine throughout the land there, where I was at, there really was no famine. It was hunger, is what people were having. Because I remember going to the big markets and stuff, and oh my gosh, they'd just be overflowing with just every kind of produce imaginable, and then other wheat type products, flours and breads and that type of thing. It was just amazing. And I got back and I said, "Well, how could there be such?" I was asking some of the older missionaries. I said, "How can there be hunger? There's all this food." Well, partly it was priced beyond the limits of most of the people. Secondly, the roads were in such bad shape that there was no way that you could get the stuff economically off the mountains down into the valleys where the people lived. And that's basically what we were faced with was this really incredible food was being grown. So I inquired a little bit more, and I found out this cost this and this cost that, and so I had a little meeting with the cook, and I said, "You buy enough food to feed all the household people. Do it on Fridays a week." They got fed that too. So because what I did, I started instituting the 3-2 rule, where I would eat 2 Zairian meals a week and 3 Azungu meals, or white people's. And so then every now and again they'd bring their kids along, and we'd play with them and what have you. And then I said, "Well, I was getting ready to eat." I said, "Well, here, go in here, get washed up, and you can eat with us." "No, no, 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 no. We're just here to be with Dad," or whatever, something like that. I said, "Oh, no, no, there's plenty of food. You can come here to eat." Well, that kind of grew, from just a couple of house workers to, you keep dropping the pebble out, and it just kept growing to include all the families, all the neighbors. So I said, "Okay, once a week you prepare a very nice meal, and it's to include beans, rice, fish, and you can have all the fresh fruit and veg you want out of the gardens here." And that worked quite well. Oh my, did that work well? Oh, he was really dear. When the fighting became too bad for him to come from where the Catholic mission was at, where he was living in his family, he had to stop coming.